Admit it. 80% of your life is ran on a complete autopilot mode, and you don't even know why you're doing a majority of the things you're doing. They're just kind of happening. But what if I told you that there was a way where you could program and wire into your daily habitual routine activities that completely up-level and transform your life? Because see, we have habits, and these habits sort of operate and run themselves. I mean, I feel pretty comfortable saying that when you get in the car and go to work in the morning, you're not tending to the driving of the car to work. That's just kind of happening on its own. And maybe even you getting up in the morning and getting ready, showering and picking out your clothes and making the coffee and brushing your teeth, washing your face, all that stuff, it just kind of happens. While you might be off in some other dimension of thinking or planning or dreading the day ahead or whatever it may be, there's this sort of default activity that's happening on a baseline that we're not even tending to. And that's just kind of our automatic, our autopilot as it's called. But see, I've been starting to realize that you can sort of become conscious of your autopilot, and you can begin to sort of mindfully and willfully incorporate different activities and actions and decisions into your daily life that will then begin to sink into the autopilot, automatic level of yourself, where your autopilot is working for you. Because usually the autopilot works against us, where it steals so much of our time because we're so busy on autopilot and we're not even choosing what we're doing. It's just kind of happening. I mean, I think in the worst case scenario of this, people's entire lives can become an autopilot, going through the motions, another day, another dollar type of thing. Where they wake up, and from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep, their day is so familiar and so habitual and so unchanging that every single thing they do in their day has completely sank into the automatic, autopilot, habitual routine of their life. Where their life itself is automatic. And if everything is happening automatically, I mean, just think about the driving of the car example where you're not present for it. Now think, if everything in your life is equal to that autopilot mode, why would you need to be present for it? In a way, you're not present for it. Now see, learning something new requires us to realize we don't have the autopilot available to us in that moment. That's why learning can be so complicated, because it requires us to step into a completely new territory where there is no automatic, there is no knowing how to do it. But see, the difference between autopilot and learning is the learning dimension requires will. It requires mindfulness. It requires fresh observation. Now, I want to tell you, I have a statement, and what I say is do today different. That's like my mantra these days. Do today different. Because if I were to speak to what the sentiment of that even means, so many of us live our lives on autopilot. We're not present for our lives. Everything we do has become so we've become so accustomed to, we've become so ingrained in it that we've fallen asleep into it. That's the epitome of what the difference between a dream, a normal dream, and a lucid dream is. A lucid dream is where you become aware that you're dreaming. Your life will begin to transform when you become aware that you're in autopilot. Because when you become aware that you're in autopilot, that's when that's the key, that's the gateway into making a different choice, which is what it means to do today different. Have you ever noticed, just for a simple example, of how if you rearrange your house, It's a completely different energy. Sometimes it could be so intense. I've heard stories of, somebody comes home to their house and their wife like rearranged the house while they were gone, and they thought they walked into the wrong home because it was so different. Now, a lot of us don't like that kind of change, but me, for example, I love rearranging, refreshing, cleaning, reorganizing, restylizing, different lighting. When you do things different, it brings you out of the sleep of your automatic mode, and it requires you to have a sort of in-the-moment intensity and intention with the moment at hand. And see, another thing is just try driving home from work in a different way, or driving to work in a different direction. Something as simple as that, as silly as it may seem, will wake you up out of the sleep of your life. Rearrange your workplace. If you have a job where you organize things, or you have a SOP, a standard operating procedure of how you go about your day at work, do it a little bit differently. Twist it around a little bit. Because we're creatures of habit, where what we want to do is, if we're forced to learn something, the thing comes its way and we learn about it as quickly as possible. We find our easiest out to know how to do the bare minimum of that thing, and then we fall asleep into that pattern, and then it just naturally sort of runs itself. Like a wind-up clock. You just wind it up and it just runs. It just runs itself. And we find the routine. We find the groove. A lot of us get comfortable in the groove too. But see, comfortable doesn't mean happy. And what I'm telling you here is that your autopilot may very well be fighting against you. Just because it's comfy and familiar and you can do it no problem and you know it like the back of your hand, that doesn't mean it's fulfilling. It just means you know it. And it's become so known and so familiar that it doesn't even require the freshness and the sort of lucidity of your mind to even be present. So you fall asleep into your life. But see, what I want to offer in this video is that by coming out of the autopilot, you can begin to make mindful changes, mindful decision changes, where you begin to wire in different habits. And slowly, your entire life will begin to completely transform itself. Naturally, too. Because these changes, you can think of these changes as what you do is you come up out of the sleep of your autopilot, and like a psychological, emotional surgeon, you make these little subtle shifts to your daily life, where you cut something out of your diet, or you add something to your diet, or you start going to sleep a little bit earlier, or maybe you start working out at the end of the day, or you read for 10, 20, 30 minutes throughout the day at some point, or you meditate, or you take a moment to just breathe and come into the moment. Just something tiny, just a little tiny thing. You use the mindfulness of your will, where you come out of the sleep of your autopilot and you do something different. You do today just a little bit differently. And a lot of us take for granted the compound effect, where when you do something a little bit different every single day, you're going to be a completely unrecognizable human being from who you were within 6 months. This is the case with me. My life has completely transformed. And it wasn't particularly through these micro adjustments in my life, but see, in a way, kind of. It was these micro adjustments where if you talked to me 10 months ago, I didn't really know shit about self-love, and I wouldn't have considered myself a YouTuber. I mean, I would have said I have a YouTube channel, but who I was then and who I am now is completely different. Where 8 months ago, I went through a sort of awakening that made me realize that I want to completely go all in with my YouTube. And slowly, bit by bit by bit, because of this arousal of awareness, I made all sorts of shifts to my self-image, to my personality, to the way I live my life. Where now every single day, some sort of something is born. Whether it's a post on my community, or a short, or a reel, or a video, or I work on a video, or edit a video, or upload a video, or come up with a video idea, or film a video. Something is always happening now in the realm of being a YouTuber. It's my wave that's been created and is gaining momentum. And this all began to compound through micro adjustments that I made in my daily life. And you can do the very same thing. You don't have to do this huge, like headline in the newspaper shift in your life to completely transform your life. Something as simple as just starting to make your bed every morning might be the catalyst that results in you living the life that you want to be living. Fulfilling the dreams that you have. Something as simple and silly and seemingly negligible as just starting to make your bed in the morning. Or maybe you start writing down an affirmation of the day every day. Or even just something where you disrupt the routine. That's really the thing there, is you disrupt the routine. Just a little something. Eat a different meal. Try cooking something you've never cooked before. Drive to work in a different way, like I said. Talk to somebody you've never talked. Approach a stranger. Pull up to somebody and be like, yo, what's up, bro? Obviously don't be weird, but like, talk to somebody you've never talked to before. Do something you've never done. Explore a different genre of music. Or a different genre of reading. Try making music. Post something you've never posted before. Ask questions. Ask the questions you've never asked before. Take up a new nightly routine or a new morning routine. Make just a little shift. And I'm telling you, man, making just a little shift in your life can trigger a cascade of transformations to take place in your life. Where, you know, somebody who is having a really hard time in life and they're in a really dark spot, sometimes all they need is for somebody to say, yo, I see you, bro, and I love you. I hope you have a good day today. Whether it's the cashier, or somebody at the drive-thru, or coworker, or whatever. That seemingly insignificant interaction can be what shifts the weight of that person's life from the foot of negativity and suffering into happiness and prosperity. Just something as simple as that. You know, and when you start to make these micro adjustments, you know, there's a book called Atomic Habits, and I've never read it, but I think it speaks to what I'm talking about here to some effect, where atomic habits is these micro habits that you begin to wire in to your life. And through the nature of the compounding effect, when you start wiring in and incorporating these micro adjustments to the way you live your life, by the end of a year, you're a whole new person, bro. You are a whole new person. And see, I think a lot of us can sort of come in a little too heavy-footed. We come in a little too hot. Where like it's a New Year's resolution and you're like, I'm going to stop smoking, or I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to get a six-pack, or I'm going to start a business, or whatever your thing is, you know? We come in a little too hot, and what we do is we try to cut something out of our life that we aren't really ready or willing at that to let go of. And what that results in is a rebound effect, an energetic, emotional rebound effect where we can't handle the amount of change that's just taken place in our life. And so we relapse. Like a rubber band stretching back to its original dimensions, we relapse back to who we used to be, because that's the dominant reality that we're resonating on and living from. Where it's a massive change for somebody who's 350 pounds to become a lean, fit, six-pack person who's 150 pounds or 160 or whatever. That's a huge, monumental change. And see, although it's with good intent, having such a violently drastic vision from where you are now can almost disempower you in a way, because it's so discontinuous with where you are now. Whereas if you were to make the goal of, all right, I'm not trying to be a lean, six-pack, 160-pound guy. I'm going to just go to the gym every week. That's completely possible. You can do that right now. And through the compounding effect, that subtle change, and also the development of knowledge in the field of exercise and diet and this kind of stuff, that tiny shift of, I'm going to go to the gym every week, that is way more, first of all, capable for you to work with, but also, that's exactly what's needed to get you from point A to point B. Point B being the 160-pound lean six-pack guy or girl or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's not, you don't want to jump the gun. You don't want to overcompensate. You don't want to demand of yourself something you aren't willing to even incorporate. But when you begin to make just tiny, tiny, tiny little shifts, you know, meditating more, a better diet, shifting up your life in some way, shape, or form, just a little bit. Not one that throws you completely off your rocker, but in a way that sparks and refreshes your awareness. You'll begin to wire in shifts in your life that will compound into huge transformations. This has been happening in my life. It happens in the lives of people all around me. And I don't think we acknowledge the significance of these micro shifts that we can make in our life. And the idea here is that you can make your autopilot work for you, not against you. A lot of us, our autopilot is working against us, and it's so hard to come up and out of the rut of the autopilot and the routine and the familiar and the comfort zone to make those changes that we know we need to make. But once you begin to start making those subtle little shifts, what was once willful and you had to force it, like let's just say going to the gym, that becomes your habit. That becomes your base reality. It's normal. You're not trying to go to the gym. You going to the gym becomes the same as you driving your car to work in the morning. It's just what you do. Or if you're a content creator, if you keep going, putting in reps, making the videos, making the posts, being consistent, whatever it is, it eventually becomes normal. It's not something you're trying so hard to do. But what that takes is continuously coming up into your mindfulness and wiring in that habit, making it a habit. I don't know, what is it, 21 days until something becomes a habit? What they're saying there is 21 days until it starts to go from your conscious mind into your subconscious mind. 21 days until you go from having to try to do it to doing it naturally. So if you can take just a little bit of time out of your day every single day to do that thing that you want to see the change in, within a month, it's going to be a natural impulse. At least it'll cross your mind every day. You'll remember it every single day. You might still be battling a little bit with your will of, oh, I don't want to do it, or whatever it is. But the more you keep showing up, and that's a whole other thing where if you do it even though you don't want to do it, you don't feel like doing it, that's when you begin to teach yourself that the feeling of lack of motivation isn't enough to put your ass down, and you'll keep going anyway. You know? And when you make these subtle little shifts, you come up into the light of your will and your effort and your courage, your willingness to take action, and you make these little shifts, your autopilot will begin to become beneficial. It'll be working for you. It said the mind is a beautiful servant but a lousy master. And I think in a way what this is pointing to is how our mind is here to serve us, where if we can teach and tutor that mind to operate in a healthy way, that's when that mind will begin to serve you rather than master you and control you and hold you down. So if you have what it takes to come up and make these changes in your life, I'm telling you right now, within a very short period of time, just because of these little shifts you make in your daily life, you will become completely unrecognizable within a year. I guarantee it.